Salutations, kindred souls. Welcome to another episode of Lux Martin Enlightenment. I'm Lux, and on this channel we talk about all things enlightenment. Not the kind that floats above life, but the kind you find right smack in the middle of it. Today is the epitome of this channel's episode called The Middle of the Mess, Finding Grace in an Unglamorous Day. I am just so happy to talk about this topic today because I'm really at a place in my journey where it feels good, and the understanding of finding grace, finding light, finding your sovereignty in the middle of your human mess is the point. And when you get to an acceptance of that and a surrender to that, that's the journey and that's the process, it feels really good. It feels like a level of freedom that not many people can reach. And so I'm hoping today that in my expressing to you as best as I can what that looks like, what that feels like, and how my integration process of that looks like in my life, something will spur you onward towards your journey of enlightenment. Yeah? So today we're going to talk about the fact that real healing, awakening, enlightenment, improvement, whatever you want to call that aspect of your life and your journey, doesn't happen in the mountaintop moments. It happens in the middle of the mess, the dishes, the deadlines, the doubt, the human emotions. Sacred doesn't mean spotless. Your soul is a piece of divinity. It's an expression of an aspect of divinity here in a human carcass life. It's not ever going to mean spotless. Being human, doing the human life experience was not designed to be perfect, spotless. There was always going to be some more stuff to look at, to witness, to realize. That's the point. And as triggering or as upsetting or frustrating as that can be, because I've absolutely felt those moments where I don't like how the fact that this thing called humanity, this thing called human existence, was meant to be frustrating and challenging because God designed it that way. And thus, that is our mission, is to trudge through it and come to this enlightenment point or understanding of why it's designed that way. It's really frustrating. It's really triggering. And it can feel disheartening at times. But I will tell you, if you're in one of those phases, I will tell you that you get to the other side of it somehow. I've come to this point where I don't feel like a victim of the human experience. I feel a deep peace and acceptance for the way it was designed in the training course that it's meant to be. And now I start to see it as a fun kind of challenge, or almost like a game, which is absolutely mind-blowing. Because if you know me, if you're a person who knows me on a deeper level, you know that I hate games. I hate games. The kids that I used to coach for years would be like, "Oh yeah, Coach Tilo hates games. we don't play games," because she hates them. But now I start to, in this peace and this freedom that I experience in the acceptance of the way this game is designed. It's a type of freedom. It's the peace that surpasses all understanding, that I'm hoping something I say today helps you get a step in that direction. Yeah. So focus. So I used to think, in my experience, that in my pursuit of spirituality, of healing, of enlightenment, I would reach this perfect, serene life, this picture life that I desire. Like, I would reach the end point, regardless of if that had physical aspects to it, like a beautiful home, the happy family, the great job, the income, all the things, like regardless of the fact that it had that physical look to it. And I was also looking for a feeling. I was looking for this feeling of peace, serenity, and ease. I used to think that that was an end point away. But now I realize, and I'm starting to integrate on a daily type of way, that those feelings come first, so within, so without. You do the inner work first. You find the inner peace, the serenity, the sovereignty first. Then at some point, I still do believe that your outward life should reflect that, but it has to be okay in the meantime when it doesn't. That's kind of the frustrating name of the game I've been playing for a freaking long time, especially on a twin flame journey. That is the epitome of what you're being asked to accept, is that you can be okay. You can be peace, be serenity, regardless of the fact that your human life has all these things that you feel it's without. But anyways, you start to use the acceptance and the surrender to get to a place where it's okay in the meantime, on the way. Yeah. And the cool part is um, Jesus often uses this analogy too of like the aha moments, the beautiful moments, the profound moments, the miracles Jesus performed always happened, not always, often happened on the way to somewhere else. It's in this on the way process where the true beauty and appreciation starts to take magnitude. Anyways, let's hone in and focus here. The main talking points I want to talk about today about this concept of finding grace in the middle of your mess is firstly dismantling the illusion of the after picture, dismantling the illusion that social media, even spiritual teachers that I love and adore and appreciate, sometimes still give this vibe, this look that peace looks like perfection. It looks like this type of lifestyle. It looks like all of these things that don't happen in your life. And that's just not true. Not true for most of us anyway. If you came down here and you designed your life to look like that, and that's your mission is to get it there, and that's what gives you peace, or that's what your outward reflection of peace looks like, fantastic, wonderful. It's not all going to be the same for us. So it's okay that it's messy and that it's going to be messy for a while and maybe forever in some way, shape, or form. As well as this is where it's really important. This is the point of my channel. This is my niche, my expertise in understanding that there is only so much mess you can clean up at once. And so in my specialty of all that is integration, when you look at the basic triad of what you can progress in, mind, body, spirit, you get to choose where you want to start. You're not expected, or it's not realistic to improve all of those three balls at once, as well as if you choose an area to work on, it's okay that the other ones are going to be messy for a little while. If you choose to do the mental vacuuming of your mind and cleaning up your inner voice, your communication styles, your attachment styles, things like that of the mind, it's okay that the spiritual laundry all over the floor gets left there for a while. Or if you want to choose to look at how your relationship to the divine is causing friction in the way you do life, it's okay that the dishes of the body lay around for a little while longer, because you can't be everywhere at once. You can't do it all at once. It's not realistic, and it's not what you're being asked to do. You're being asked to pick one, start working on it. And if you want to start with the spiritual laundry first, let the dishes sit there. If you want to start with vacuuming out the mind first, let the mess continue to be, because slowly but surely it will work itself out. And in that beautiful mess comes the realization that grace doesn't happen when you fix everything. It doesn't happen when your life has this beautiful, polished, finished product look. And then we move on to the topic of, as you become aware of this mess that sometimes feels overwhelming, your human life, and when you look at it, it's in its entirety, the good, the bad, the ugly, it still oftentimes looks like a mess to us in one way, shape, or form. In this heaviness or chaos that you sometimes feel when examining that part of your life or that aspect of your life, this is the call to choose how you want to deal with it. And the ways we get to choose to deal with it is the avenue of integration or escape. You can integrate in the mess, or you can escape the mess. Early in my awakening, I happened to choose this interesting side of the spectrum. There's often two. We can choose to escape, dissociate in the forms of like meditating extra, isolation, hardcore diving off the deep end into these things that we think are going to magically clean up the mess for us, or we think is going to resolve it all, by the disconnection of the real-time humanity of your life. I actually kind of chose to swing the other way, in that I became such a desperate chaser of solutions that I thought that the faster I solved the problems, cleaned up the mess, the sooner I would get relief. So either way, you could swing towards a form of escape, but that truly isn't integration. And it took a process for me to understand that even though I was on a healing journey, I was doing it in in a sort of poorly motivated kind of way where I was just desperate for relief, and so I overhauled. I attempted to fast track to healing, enlightenment, and spirituality by chasing solutions at all cost in a form of desperation that was not kind to myself or others at times. So when we try to distinguish or separate ourselves from the humanity of mass, that is escape. But true integration is about bringing the sacred into the ordinary. It's about this understanding that, without fancy words and understanding, the point is that when you're feeling the hurricane of your life go by, and sometimes it's stronger than others, sometimes it's a real hurricane, sometimes the best your human can do is grab something and hold on for dear life and just sit there and take it for a minute. Detaching from all of the things your human is feeling and going through in the middle of the mess isn't growth. Being a true strength resides in being able to just sit there in the hurricane and go, wow, this really sucks. I really don't want to feel this anymore. This is really hard, but it will pass. And I can believe that that's true. That was kind of an important realization I had to go through in life, was understanding that I can't think of a thing in my life that has not passed in one way, shape, or form. Whether that was resolution, revolution, something, it did not stay the same. And so if you can really truly believe in that truth, that as much as this hurricane feels awful right now and it feels like it will never end, I don't know of a time where that's real. What is real is that this too shall pass. And so you build this strength, you build this ability to become the still in the chaos, even if it's really hard, even if it's really hard for your human. And I still believe that it doesn't matter how far you get along a healing or enlightenment spiritual journey, there are still going to be moments where the hurricane feels like a category 12, and you wonder if you're going to make it to the other side of this. I'm sure those moments are still going to come up all throughout life. But this practice of understanding that that's kind of all your job is to sit there in the hurricane and hang on for dear life and realize that you are going to get through it, makes the category 12s start to come down to a category 6, and what used to feel like category 6 is category 1s. You know what I mean? So that it's this regulating process. And that is true integration. So to me, the definition of integration is your ability to shift the needle of your set point, your baseline operational existence, over just a little. Even if it's just a little, you integrated. You integrated a lesson, a process in your life, and now you operate at a new set point, even if it's 1 degree over. That's amazing. That's awesome. Good for you. That's the point of your human existence. So moving on to how we do this. How do we become the still in the chaos? What does that look like? To me, what it is practicing the finding and the appreciating of the micro moments of awareness in everyday life. And as triggering as that may sound, it is literally a lifelong practice that you will do day in and day out for the entirety of your human existence. I've seen me get really frustrated about that, about just being done with the fact that you want me to practice this and become aware of this and step up and choose different and do all of these things the entire rest of my life. I'm done. Sometimes I check out and I lose the ability to care for a minute. I'm sure you felt that way too. The good news is you tend to get to choose to come back and go, no, okay, I was tantruming, I was upset, I was burned out for a minute. I get to choose to come back to appreciating what awareness does for me. And so everyday unglamorous moments offer tiny doorways to awareness. And to me, what that is just choosing to feel a space, a moment of space, instead of close it. The beautiful thing about this is that a lot of times you can start a healing journey very unaware. Old versions of Lux was very, very unaware, very ignorant to all of the moments where she could have chose differently, where she could have allowed space to understand what was happening in the moment. But slowly, over time and practice, she started to become aware. And even when she got it, still got it wrong, even when she still made a choice out of pressure or anxiety or less than awareness, she became aware that those moments did exist and that there would be another opportunity to choose differently, which is super encouraging. Tough at times, but super encouraging also. So, and the beauty of this is that I feel like in my life there are different points of my journey where I was being called to take more notice of certain types of awareness moments. And so this is where I want to share with you the 3 types of awareness moments that I'm being called to take more notice of in my everyday life right here, right now, as I'm filming this video. Aspect number 1, awareness type number 1 that I need to notice is pausing before reacting. And what I mean by this is choosing to feel space instead of filling it with doing, with an action. I have lived my whole life that way of when I notice a space, a tension, I need to fill it. And that's just not true. So letting there be a space, inaction can be just as powerful as action. And so for someone that grew up and was trained, her human is trained to be a doer to the max, I am being called to pause before any type of doing. Thing number 2, awareness type number 2 is a deep breath before answering. As a person who spends their whole life talking for a living, I've noticed the many, many moments where taking a full inhale, full exhale, and then waiting a second has saved me from opening my mouth in ways that would have been less than ideal. Still a practice, still doing it, not perfect, admittance right here, but choosing to take a full inhale, exhale before answering, before speaking, is a moment of spatial awareness that has been profoundly helpful, especially recently for me. And lastly, right now, I'm being asked to notice this constant reminder of I can choose presence instead of pressure. I have lived the majority of my life giving in to pressure and overwhelm and moving or choosing out of anxiety and pressure rather than just being here, rather than just choosing, I can still be here in this even if I'm really uncomfortable. And moving faster or moving out of desperation or fear isn't going to get me the best result. So I hope that me sharing those real life types of mini awareness moments is something that you can very practically use right now. Maybe you're still in the process of, I'm just trying to notice the moments where I don't want to lash out at my kid for being distracted or not hearing me or being irritated, or I can't tolerate the tension that's building around me at work between my coworkers. Just noticing the moments. Maybe you're still just trying to notice that they're there. That's okay, because as you get from the beginning of that process to the fine-tooth combing of your life in your everyday moments of where you can be more and more and more present, these moments build the spiritual muscle more than any workshop or retreat ever could. And that's not to say that those aren't wonderful and powerful and catalyzing things, because I've used them myself. But what they encouraged me to do was then turn back towards looking at the mess of my everyday, super unglamorous life right now and noticing how the many moments of me building the spiritual muscle of awareness is bringing divinity into my everyday human existence. Bingo, right there. That's the point of it. I hope you heard that. Moving on to the next point, briefly touching on the fact that the grace for being human is understanding that the human carcass, the human experience, is the vehicle for this training process. You don't have to earn your sacredness, it's inherent. You are an aspect of divinity inside a meat suit, living in a 3D dense dimensional plane, starting off with the unawareness that that's what you are. Quite a challenging startup process, yeah? Quite the rule set put in place. But the divine doesn't require perfection to reside inside of you. When you meet your messy self with compassion and have some love and appreciation for the way this human life experience was the way the rules of the game were set up to be, you can find compassion, you can find the ability to fill yourself with light, with what you were called, what's actually inside of you: soul, light, alignment, embodiment, the things inside that you're meant to bring forth outward into the world. That's also where you create relatable connection, where no human on this earth can really look at somebody else that has this perfect life and feel a connection to that, because we all notice moments of our humanity. We all notice shame, discomfort, desire, frustration. Even if somebody else's life looks perfect like that, you can desire that, but that doesn't mean you're relatable. So when you can accept and not even hide the mess, the messy that is you, you're human doing this human thing, you become a source for connection and light, and you become a reachable beacon for others to notice. Yeah. So give your humans some grace, please, and understanding that the journey was designed this way, and your human experience is a vehicle for divinity to continue to expand. And it wasn't designed to be easy. It wasn't designed to be perfect. It wasn't designed to be flawless. It was designed to be full of roadblocks, challenges, mess, chaos. That's where you find beauty, and the acceptance of that is the peace that surpasses all understanding. So, lastly, we're going to wrap this up with some real life integration practices of how to appreciate your sovereignty in the middle of the mess. Going back to rituals, blessing your daily routines. If you haven't checked out my episode on how rituals help ground and stabilize your everyday life, not in a monumental altar shrine kind of way, but in the moments where you can ground yourself and remind yourself that you are divinity in a meat suit. Check out that episode. I think you'll like it. That was one of my other happier favorite episodes that I really enjoyed doing. So using your daily routines to create ritual, to create grounding, to create gratitude really, really helps pull you back down into the present moment. Some practical life examples of this. They may sound silly to you. They may sound absolute BS. I literally, every time I find a piece of change on the ground, I pick it up and say, thank you. Thank you so much, God, for this little blessing, for this little coin of abundance, and thank you for it being the single signal to me that more is on the way. Sounds stupid, but that's how I train myself to practice gratitude instead of scarcity. Another one that I used to do all the time when I had a house full of kids and dogs and mess, and it looked like a full on game of Jumanji in my house all the time. The mess was never ending. I had to start making myself say in my head, thank you for all of this laundry that I have to pick up off the floor, because at one point in life, I didn't have the clothes I needed to wear to this appropriate work setting. And at one point in life, my kid didn't have enough underwear and socks to get through a week. So thank you for all of these beautiful clothes, because at one point I didn't have them. Thank you for this beautiful problem I have of having to pick them up and wash them, because not everybody gets this problem. Thank you for all of these dishes everywhere covered in food, because not everybody knows where their next meal is coming from. You know what I mean? So taking the mess that used to just drive me insane, that I could literally go batty over, and turning it into, oh my goodness, what a beautiful problem I get to have, because not everybody has this problem, and I'd rather have this one than something else. And lastly, a real life integration practice, or a real life piece of how you integrate awareness, is stopping to take a moment, hopefully at the end of your day so that you can sleep on it, is taking a moment to notice where you recognized awareness. Before you close your eyes at night, when you're sitting there watching TV at night or trying to unwind, take a moment to notice that moment at the red light where you didn't lose your cool, where you took a breath before you responded to your child, where you got through the workday without giving in to the tension. Or maybe taking the moment to notice, I still didn't handle that as well as I could have. I found the moment, I noticed it was there, and I still chose an old pattern. I still chose to react like this. That's okay, because in your taking a moment to reflect on that, you fuel your motivation to find another moment like that where you could choose differently. So, rituals, noticing the awareness moments, gratitude, and reframing your frustration. This is another very super triggering statement that used to really tick me off, was when when you have to look at the truth of this is all happening for me, not to me, that used to drive me absolutely freaking bonkers. But I've come to this place where it is truth for me that even in the middle of a mess of frustration, of a moment of overwhelm, in an unglamorous part of a day, I can not like this. I can not like that this is supposed to be for me. And I can even not know when I'm going to see how it was for me. I can even know that I'm still going to be mad about this or upset about this, and I'm not going to see the reason why for quite a while. It's still truth to me. I hope you heard that. Even though I'm in this human moment where I really, really don't appreciate that this is for me, and I don't know when I'm going to see how it was for me, I still believe that that is truth. That's really powerful and really freeing in your practicing of navigating integration to integrating awareness in your life. So, in closing reflection, I hope that something I said today helped you become very aware that healing, spirituality, the journey, the point of the human experience is not to get rid of the mess. It's not to achieve perfection. It's to realize and emanate and fulfill your divinity in the middle of your everyday human mess, in every unglamorous moment where you're feeling the human things. That is the power, the beauty, and the magic of what it is to be a soul in a human body. And I hope that you get to this place that I'm feeling, this peace that surpasses all understanding, where that's now a beautiful thing to appreciate and spur me on to continue the game, rather than a disempowering frustration that makes me feel like I can't do this. So keep seeking, keep softening, keep showing up. And remember, the light that you're looking for is the light you already are. It's in there, and it's amongst the beautiful mess of your humanity. Take care.